So far, so good. I've just invited our beautiful guest today, Shannah Kennedy. Hello, Shannah.
Hi, dear.
Now, do I need to move my phone? Yeah, I think I do.
I think you need just to flip it
this way.
That's it.
There we go. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Wonderful to be here.
Wonderful to have you on the show, and thank you so much. We had you on the Resilience show, which is the podcast and the YouTube channel, and that was, gosh, that would have been over a month, maybe 2 months ago.
Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe 3 before Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Gosh,
yeah, it goes so fast.
Because we're in February now.
Yeah.
Well, I really loved our chat so much. So thank you so much for coming back today for the Instagram Live, because I really want to talk about this. I want to talk about your amazing book called The Life Plan. I'm in the middle of reading it. Can I just introduce you properly with your beautiful book? You're a life coach, and you were one of the first ones ever, because now it's
in Melbourne. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so 20, one of the first life coaches in Melbourne.
Yeah, 20 years ago, like no one had even heard of a life coach, and everyone was saying, what are you doing? What are you talking about? So I went and studied at the International Coaching Academy, and I really wanted to coach elite athletes into retirement because nobody cared about them, and I was in sports sponsorship. So I was really passionate, but nobody would understand what I was trying to do. They'd never heard of it before. So I used to say it's like a personal trainer for your life. And I just had to try and get it relatable.
Well, it is like a muscle that we're training our mind, and that's so important. You know what I love about the introduction of your book is you talk about what you went through on your personal journey, and I totally relate, being quite driven as a teenager, wanting it all, wanting to be super successful, wanting to go all the way in your career, and that really exciting you. And then when you get there, and when you got there, you're on top of your game. You were working with Olympic and elite athletes, and you were also not only helping athletes, but you were in sports management, right?
I was in sports management and then in sports sponsorship. So I was doing this whole Jerry Maguire type thing. And, for a girl in her 20s, you are living the dream, literally. You are in helicopters, you've got tickets to every sporting event possible, you're in the box everywhere. So it's a pretty damn good life. And I married my job. That was the big problem.
Wow. And it would have been incredibly exciting, and you would have been fulfilled to an extent, I imagine, but it came at a cost.
Yeah, it was thrilling. So it was all achievement junkies type of stuff, So when you're the A-type, I'm sure a lot of the listeners here today can relate to that feeling where you're a bit A-type, overachieving, perfectionist type person. And it all comes at a really great cost. And yes, we love the thrill of achievement, but it didn't really give any fulfillment because I wasn't working on any other part of my life. And I definitely didn't have any self-care. So it cost me my health, which is, chronic fatigue came in, and with that came in depression. And that was 20 years ago. So I'm 50 now, and that was when I was 30. So I've had to really learn to live and adapt my entire life to be able to still achieve and feel fulfilled, but live with my body and my mind not going as fast as I wanted to.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love how you talk about in your book and in the introduction, a note where it says a note from Shannah, how you watched the Wall Street and you were 17 years old and you decided, I know what I want to do with my life. And what we do, when we're that age, we place maybe our identity and our sense of purpose and direction on the external because we don't know anybody yet. And it's exciting, and we have to go through that. It's absolutely normal, and it's a good thing. I did exactly the same thing. And I sometimes still do, and I have to catch myself all the time to remember what's important. And then...
Well, I think everybody does. I think everybody does, and it's a problem. So as a coach, my first question is, who are you without your job? That's a pretty frightening question for a lot of people, because
Yeah.
we need to see ourselves as a business. Like, we are the asset. We need to protect ourselves, grow and evolve
Yeah.
and flourish. And
Yeah.
the job is just what you do during the day, which might change in 5 years' time. But it's when we define ourselves by our title, that's when it gets us really tricky.
Well, sometimes life, comes and whispers in our ear, change direction, you're not listening, and when we don't listen, it'll come like a hammer. And it did for me. I was paralyzed 11 years ago. I didn't know how to slow down. And that's why I related to you in your book. You didn't know how to slow down either, because you might have, you tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, you might have placed your sense of value and self-worth on how much you're achieving. I know I do.
I still do 20 years later, but I've learned and still learning where the line is, where I can push and push and push. And then there's a line where the minute I cross it, I'm in big trouble. Not just a little bit of trouble, big trouble. My adrenals crash, the headaches come back, my bones ache, the depression comes in. So I have to really be quite careful, but I still love to push, because I think that's, my natural type of self.
Yeah.
But I really learnt over the 20 years that, I've had to learn to love my body and my life and who I am with these things, rather than being angry at them.
Yes. Yes. And that's a fresh perspective and a more loving and softer energy about it all, which is what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to come out of that stressful, over-energized energy into something that's a little bit more, kinder, because we can be so hard on ourselves. Can we talk about your amazing steps that all start with S?
Yes.
I just love them. So you've got start, simplify, stretch, structure, succeed, sabbatical, shine.
Yeah, I know. I love S words. I think it's about starting, and I think what I really work with a lot of people is, when you want to build yourself as a business and see yourself as the asset, and actually care for your best friend, which is yourself, which a lot of people don't have that great dialogue with. I really invite people to answer the question is, do I speak to myself like I would speak to my best friend? Do I support myself as I would my best friend? And a lot of people, to get back to self, because they've been living externally for so long, we start by going back to our values. That's ground zero. That's like the foundation of your house. And when you don't know what the foundation is, if it's a bit rocky or you're not sure, I want mine to be concrete. So really understanding your own set of values, and they're the boss. That's actually who we go to work for, not our job. That's what we do. But the boss of who we are is, what am I doing today to serve my own values? So, mine's health, and health doesn't mean, do I feel healthy? Am I energetic? It means, what am I doing consciously for my mental health, the brain training, my physical health, eat, move and sleep, my emotional health, loving and being able to receive from others, which I know a lot of people listening here today are not good at receiving, because it's
Particularly
something
if you're
we're not. Yes, and if you're female, very difficult to receive. And the last one is your spiritual health, which is, belonging to something greater than yourself. So for me, it's the universe. For some people, it's a religion. For some people, it's a community. So when you see those 4 pillars, that's what makes up health. That's the boss. That's your code of conduct.
Yes.
The second one for me is family happiness. And that doesn't mean, is my family happy? Because I've got a couple of teenagers and a husband and a dog. And what it means is, can I show up every day, 90% of the time, being the best version of myself? Am I being a warm and nurturing mum? Am I being a fun wife? Because if I'm being a tired, exhausted, horrid wife, that's really not what he signed up for. And isn't that what I want to be? So I have to go back to my diary.
When we overwork and overdo things and overachieve, and we squeeze the fun out of our day.
All of it gone.
Totally squeeze the fun out of everything. And that's how I try and bring myself back in line, is how am I having fun today, despite all the things I know I need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And the last one for me is achievement, obviously. So I love it. I love like writing lists and like ticking them off and setting goals and going and getting them and making things happen. But that is actually what's really bad for my health. So, because I don't have a stop button. So what I've had to learn over the last 20 years is to value self-care as an achievement. So
yes,
came up just redid the cover of the life plan.
Oh, very
and
pretty.
yeah, they're in all Kmart's at the moment. So they just ordered 12,000. So that's an achievement. But I need to actually value that I do my breathing, my gratitude work, put my legs up the wall, which supports my health and my poor sore legs from chronic fatigue. That's actually a bigger achievement, because if I'm going to have longevity in my career and not crash again, if I don't achieve that every day, I will burn out.
That's right.
And if anyone here on listening to this has that feeling of burnout coming in, and you just keep pushing, you won't have longevity in your career. You won't have great relationships. So how about we value achievement, not in, you know, what car we drive and what watch we have and how much we can smash on the to-do list, but let's make the to-do list a little healthier version where we have self-care so that we can go and do all of the other things. And I think what most people do is forget that bit and they put it at the bottom. Whereas I've learned to put it at the top. It's actually at the top now.
Good, good. What's your morning ritual?
My morning, I've got AM and PM bookends, I call them. So how you bookend the day. So your first and last hour is really, you have the power to own them. The rest of the day is usually chaotic and other people and other influences. But the first hour for me is I've got to do my breathing in bed before I even get up. So I've still got my eyes closed and I'm like setting the intention for the day, taking some deep breaths, being very grateful that I have a bed, you know, really powering into that. And then I have to move my body for an hour. Otherwise it doesn't move. So with chronic fatigue, if I don't move, the whole day I feel like a brick. So I have to move. So it's either weights, it's yoga, or it's walking. I have to like get it moving or it's stiff. So that's a non-negotiable. And then when I get back, I have my shower and I drink half a litre of water in the shower. So I've already hydrated a bit and then I'm ready to just power on. And then in the nighttime, which I think is equally as important, is at 8:30, usually I turn the phone off and I'm allowed to watch TV and stuff, but I no more just shut down my brain a little bit and just let it relax. And then, you know, you wash your face and you put your oils on and my lavender on. And then I write in my journal, which is the 5-minute journal, which I can highly recommend to people. It's called the 5-minute journal. And every night it just says what was amazing today. And you have to find 3 amazing things. So it makes you stop and go in. And then what do I need to do for tomorrow? So you go to sleep thinking about, oh, I need to drink more water tomorrow, or I actually need to move my body tomorrow. And then I get my clothes out for the morning exercise.
Great, because when you make a note of that, not only are you bringing into your awareness what's important and the things that we never acknowledge, like what great things happened today. That's exactly how I journal in the evening as well, is what great things happened today. But I also say, well, what difficult things happened today, or anything that's on my mind that, you know, is troubling me, because I get it out of my head and onto paper, and then I close my journal. And then it's like my brain is able to sort it out better before I go to sleep.
Perfect. So if we don't do that, if we don't get it out of the brain, it will wake you up at 2 a.m. and it will say, now you need to process all of that stuff.
Yeah,
but if we've already got it out, and if you're scrolling in bed on your Instagram or Facebook or breaking news, and that's the last thing that you're doing, then it will wake you up at 2 o'clock. So it has to process all of those images again. It's like it needs a breath. And if we don't give the brain the breath,
feel up the day, don't you? You don't want to create new ideas to think through. And, you know, I often wake up at 1 or 2 in the morning if I know I haven't worked through something in my mind, or I'm deciding something. The liver is all about internal plans, and the gallbladder is all about, you know, executing them. And when we're still mulling over plans, it's typical 1 to 2 a.m. We can wake up. It's so simple. Journaling is so simple, but look at what it can do. It really is effective to empty and wash the mind, so we can actually deeply rest. And as you mentioned before, sleep is really important, isn't it?
Oh, it's medicine for the body. It's
Yeah.
life force. And I think, you know, most people, and I know I certainly got really overwhelmed when I thought about having to journal. I was like, oh God, I don't know what to write. I don't know where to start. The page is blank. And so I got the 5-minute journal to help me with the prompts. But even just that's enough for me to journal for myself sometimes when I need to, not every day, but maybe sometimes when I've got a lot on, and put it all in bullet points so I don't have to write sentences. So it's about creating your own style and not being overwhelmed or thinking it has to be perfect or
Keep it
something
simple,
like
keep
that.
it short.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you mentioned in the interview that we did a few months ago that resilience is all about keeping your cup full. And when life gets tough, you remind yourself that this too shall pass.
Yeah. So we get these emotions coming in and out, or, you know, the storm comes and we get a curveball thrown at us. You know, my mum had a heart attack after Christmas. We've had a lot of curveballs come. And it's really in the grounding of self and the breathing and knowing, you know, these feel massive emotions coming in. I always would sit there and just think, you know, this too shall pass. I'm not going to feel like this in 5 hours' time. Things keep moving. And it's a little bit like the clouds in the sky. Is our emotions, anxiety, overwhelm, sadness, loneliness, all of those things that I've been feeling through my life with chronic fatigue, is I look at the clouds often and see how fast they move, and I'm like, they're going to move out of me too. Like, we acknowledge them and then we let them go.
Things change and things move if we learn how to sit in the uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, and just sit in it and let it pass rather than think, oh gosh, I'm a lonely person. Oh gosh, I've got real anxiety issues. We need to let go a little bit and be a river and let things just flow a lot better. And last year was that perfect example that we couldn't hold on too tight because every day changed, you know, with our breaking news, every day changed. So
I think it's harder to do that when we
thing.
feel capped. And many of us are very capped, as you just said, with what we've all been going through for the last, you know, for the last year. So we do need to do daily practice to wash and empty our minds and move our bodies and to and even exercise is actually processing emotions and so that we don't feel capped. And I love that you believe that resilience is about keeping your cup full, but also empty in a sense as well, where we can take on new information. When life throws a curveball, we're ready, and when we're anchored, we're more flexible. I like using a thermostat analogy where, you know, a thermostat will keep the inside of the house at a consistent temperature no matter what's going on the outside. And if we can find that inner power and that inner anchor within ourselves, we can be our own thermostat. And then we start to change what we're believing. And when we really believe that no matter what life throws at us today or in the future, we really start to believe in ourselves and how capable we are and what we can deliver moving forward. And that changes our biochemistry. So when we're believing that, we're more inclined to promote growth and repair pathways instead of the fight or flight and stress.
Yeah, I mean, every time you go for a walk around the block, you change your hormone level, right? Or every time you wash your hands and you just stop and take 3 deep breaths down to your belly, because everyone's only breathing like shallow. You take the 3 deep breaths, you change your nervous system. So for me, breathing has become a skill that I've really wanted to master that helps with me sustaining this great lifestyle so that I don't burn out. So I found that the breath and how I breathe and how often I take conscious breaths during the day has really been the tank filler for me. So, you know, everyone puts the oxygen mask on every morning and it goes and helps everybody else. Who's filling your tank? Yeah. So for me, it's like, what can I do to keep my own tank full so I can keep the mask on and keep helping everybody else? Is the conscious deep breathing that every time I wash my hands, I take my 3 deep breaths. Yeah. Before I get out of bed, my 3 deep breaths. When I go to bed, my 3 deep breaths. In the shower, my 3 deep breaths. It's all I do, 3 deep breaths. Yeah. I do it like a Gatorade stop all day in the marathon. I stop at every Gatorade stop and refuel.
Yeah.
And I think then you can handle things, because if you're exhausted and you're burning out, you get a curveball thrown at you, or
Well,
the
it's a
weather
mirror image.
changes.
Yeah, it's a mirror image when
Yeah.
our body speaks to us or screams at us like that. It's a mirror image of what's going on in our minds that we're not necessarily looking at or we're avoiding. I'm a huge believer that pain in the body or fatigue or even paralysis, which was for me, is a sign. So you really want to look at what are you not looking at and what's stopping you from being able to slow down.
Yeah, and it's really confronting to slow down, right?
Yeah, it can
Because you're
be.
not allowed to slow down. No one says you're allowed to slow down. Everyone says do more. So for me, it's really confronting to say your body is hurting. You have to slow down. It's giving you the warning sign, or you're going to crash, and then you're going to be lonely, angry, sad, anxious, depressed, all of those things. So
Yeah.
the warning signs now are imperative, to really care for yourself.
Yeah. So with your steps that you outline in the book, I assume start is all about just getting started, right?
Yeah, start is, where have you come from? What's your story?
Yeah.
What's really been the pathway to get you to who you are today, good or bad? We've all got a story. Every person has a wonderful story. Every person's had lots of bumps in the road at some stage. And I think that's really important, to own your story. And then secondly, work out your values.
Yes, very
So
important.
in the book, it teaches you how to. And then once you know
good.
your values, go and write them on the mirror.
Yep.
Go and put them up on the wall. Go and put them as your screensaver on your phone. So
I love
that's the
that.
boss.
Well, I
That's the
really
boss.
believe, I think that who we are, what we stand for, and knowing what we're made of is all about how we find our inner anchor. And I use that in my resilience formula, is only when you have discovered your inner anchor can you be truly flexible in your mind, in your body, and in your life. And that's what I believe leads to a happier and healthier life, and allows us to push ourselves to be the best that we can be. And only then do we really discover what we're made of, and we can start believing in ourselves more and more. And I think the conversation of self-esteem and self-worth is so important. The more we
And
can
we have to
nourish.
train. We need to train the brain, right? The brain's like a computer that it's got old stories in it, and we need to retrain it. And the only way I can retrain it is visual. So my bathroom mirror, I write on it in whiteboard marker because it just rubs off.
Me too. I do that too.
But the whole mirror is full. It is full of words that says today is easy and effortless, responsibility versus blame. The values are in the middle. I cannot forget who the boss is.
Yeah. I love that.
The job is just what you do, whether you're an author or a speaker or a coach, or you work for a company. That's just the ride you get on during the day, and then you get off the ride every night, and you've got to work for this business, right? So for me, every day when I see it there, it's in the subconscious. I don't actually sit there and read it, but it's there, and it's sort of like a computer program. It's like the blueprint. And I think that's how I've really supported myself over the 20 years, because like you, we both look healthy. Chronic fatigue, you don't look sick. That's the problem. So the aches, the pain, the adrenal fatigue, you can't tell. So I have to really look at that blueprint all the time.
Yeah, and you have to honor yourself, and you've got to trust yourself that you know what's right for you. And then you move to simplify. So what's the snapshot on simplify?
Simplify is about, let's declutter. There's enough drama in the world without creating your own. Yep. Okay, so let's try and simplify your life. So declutter your house, declutter your finances, get in charge, get up to date, create a great system. Simplify that list that you've got. Let's just go down to what's essential. So I really want people to think about the simpler you can live, the more powerful you're going to feel, and the happier and healthier you're going to feel.
I love that's really, really important. And then stretch is next.
Stretch is all about, vision and where are you going and why do you want to go there. And on my website, there's free downloadable vision board kits, so you can print them out, because I think you need to look forward. Like, where do you want the car to go? Don't just drive around the roundabout. Where do you want to take your life? And most importantly, like the biggest question I've asked myself this year and my clients is, how do I want to feel this year?
Yeah. That's a really
Okay,
good
so
question.
yeah, so let's just start with, how do I want to feel this year? So for me, I want to feel light. I think last year was really heavy.
It
It
was
was a
really
heavy
heavy.
year. So I want to feel light.
Mm,
I want to feel energetic.
mm,
I want to feel vibrant, and I want to bring that to my family. I want to bring that to my friends. I want to bring it to my
yeah.
clients.
Yep.
So let's set some goals around how you want to feel.
I
And
love
are
that.
you doing the things that will support how you want to feel?
Yep.
That's a bit more fulfillment rather than achievement.
And then you move to structure. And for people that are just joining now, I can see a bunch of people have just joined. We are looking at Shannah Kennedy's book called The Life Plan. And we went start, simplify, stretch, and now structure.
Structure's about self-management, really, isn't it? It's around create some boundaries so that you know where the yes and no is, to protect yourself and your energy. I mean, it's all about our energy at the end of the day. But structure is about, how do you manage your week? You know, where is the joy? Where is the space for you to breathe? How have you structured it so that it feels a little bit balanced, even though every day is crazy, and you know, we've got kids now doing all their sport again, and it's busy, it's super, super busy, but it doesn't have to mean stress. It just means you have a full life. So it's about creating a structure that actually works for you, and thinking about what does make me feel refueled and not exhausted by the end of the day.
Well, and structure would allow for execution too, because it's all great having all these great ideas, but unless you've got a structure on how to, you know, be doing what you're feeling and thinking, how does it really happen? That's really important. And then succeed is next.
You know, I think it's important to think about what makes you feel successful. And so for me, that's the joy piece and the creative piece and the gratitude piece. Is we can go and do all of these things, but you might not even be happy. So to feel successful, what does success mean to you?
Yeah.
Does it mean
really
the new car?
Yeah.
So a lot of people need to think about, what does success actually mean? And for me personally, it's living the life I choose. So I want to make sure I don't feel trapped at the end of the day, and I've got some choice going on. So what about joy? What about happiness? And happiness is 50% genetic. You're either the glass half full or the glass half empty. Then 10% on top of that is your nice car and the external things. 40% of your happiness is how you intentionally live your day. It's what you tell yourself. It's the mindset that goes behind it. It's the rituals that you do, the routines that you have that make you happy. Not the car, not the watch. You know that when we get a nice new shirt or something, or we online shop, it feels good for a minute and then it's gone. But your routines and your rituals and what makes you happy will really determine, you know, the kind of life that you're living. How many days, every day of your life makes up the story of your life. So
it'll
how we
also
want to make that percentage.
It'll change who you hang out with as well. And I think throughout my life, what I believe is successful to me has changed. You know, when I was young, it was about going all the way in business and, you know, achieving as much as I could with my work and my career. And you know, I've changed my career a few times in my life. You know, my twin sister and I, we sang and wrote our own music, and we were in, you know, did a lot of music. And then I went into the fashion industry, and then I started my own business there. And then after I became unwell, it then shifted into health and well-being. So, but then now that I've, you know, achieved a lot that I wanted to, you know, I haven't gone as far as I've wanted to, but then I reached a certain point where I realized that no matter how much further I was going to go in terms of this external success and business success, unless I was, there was a lot more meaning behind it, and being of service, and actually part of it being, you know, how am I helping the world? It just didn't mean anywhere near as much. So that's why everything I do now, it's always about how is it helping others rather than what I need to achieve.
Yeah, and it's like that purpose piece, right, that makes you feel successful. So a lot of people say, I don't know my purpose, but you sort of don't need to. That's a pressure thing. It's about, what's your purpose of today? You could just start with, how do I want to feel today, and what's my purpose today? And when we keep things really simple, as I, you know, really want people to do, is then we can just focus on today. And if we can do that most days, then we're going to have a really great life. And some days it's not going to be possible. You know, the weather's in, the hormones change, something happens, we get the curveball. But the days that the majority that if we can think like that, we have fulfillment, we have depth rather than this surface achievement that you can still go to bed and feel lonely at night.
So we were talking before about not only how you work with individuals in this way, and this is a really great idea on how you do. When you work with businesses, you have a bit of a structure on how to implement this professionally, right?
Yeah, I mean, whether you're still the human being, aren't you, right? So I just run these sort of courses for businesses where, you know, let's develop the person. Let's, you know, while people have their career plan, who's doing their life plan? So that you can keep your family and you can still have a relationship with your kids and you can still say, you know, be fit and healthy and have a financial plan. And it all comes by putting it all into one, which is the business of you. So if we can just stop defining ourselves just by our career and see the whole picture, and the career is a part of it, but we have to fulfill the other bits or, you know, things don't look too good, do they?
No, you can't just focus on you need to focus on all of it. Otherwise we'll never feel truly fulfilled. And I love this section in your book called Sabbatical.
I know, that was we did that, I think, maybe it must have been 6 or 7 years ago, where we took 5 months off and we took our kids out of school. So everyone, you know, thought we were crazy. But my husband had done 10 years as a CEO. I had done 10 years as a coach and I was feeling a little bit burnt out. And we decided if we don't take this time at the minute to just go and check out of life and live in an RV and go around America and do all of the, you know, big national parks. And, you know, we met very unusual people in RV parks. It was really educational for our kids. You know, we lived on a boat in the Virgin Islands for a little while, and then we lived in the Rocky Mountains for a while and did the hiking and biking and fishing. And and my whole thing was, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to my business? Like I'm walking away. I'm walking away from success. I'm walking away from all my clients and my books and speaking, and I'm going to have to start from scratch and it's going to be terrible. So it was really challenging to allow myself to do that. But we always look back and think, you know, that's probably the best thing we've done as a family is just be together and bond and have these incredible memories. And they do say that sabbaticals are really important every 7 to 10 years, that you actually take months off, not weeks, but months off, and just come down, just get creative again, just really fill the tank properly, and then come back for another 10 years of great work. It's just that when it arrives, it's really frightening to do that.
And hopefully it doesn't arrive in the form of a pandemic. Hopefully we can actually choose to have a couple of months off. But I agree, as I've, you know, in my teens, into my 20s, 30s, and now 40s, I've changed and evolved and grown and become a whole different version of myself. Different things mattered to me as I've progressed into decades. And what a great idea to have a sabbatical and to recheck, particularly and bonding with your family, because you guys all change your dynamics too. Like particularly with you and your partner, like you guys, you know, you're going to have a long, successful relationship if you can allow each other to grow and change and give each other that space. But we forget to continue connecting when we're so busy trying to achieve everything and to have everything. And, you know,
I think you need to do that conscious connection.
It's really
that,
important.
you know, and so the life plan is all about, it doesn't just come to your front door on a silver platter. No one came to our front door with the tray saying, okay, here's your 20 weeks away and this is what you're going to do. So you have to plan it. You have to think about it. You've got to save for it. You know, we wanted to rent our house out to pay for the other side, and the dollar was 1 for 1. So going was actually really cheap. But we really put it in our 20-year plan. So we did a plan for 20 years and we based it around our kids' ages and stages that they were in. And we knew they were both in primary school. This is our only opportunity. We can't do that in secondary school. So let's make the most of it. And then you sort of think about what life experiences do you want to have by yourself, as a couple, and as a family. And if you don't know what the experiences are that you want to experience, you can't plan them, you can't make them happen. So hence we need vision.
Well, it sounds like you were living your life deliberately in that way. It's really inspiring. And then you finish with a chapter called Shine.
Yeah, and I think that's allowing yourself to be really happy, you know, giving yourself permission to shine, to be the light for other people, to be able to help other people. If you've done all of those steps of self, you know, self-connection, self-reflection, self-management, self-leadership, self-mastery, we can shine, we can help a lot of people. We can be there, we can really enjoy our days because we've actually mastered the basics. And I think when you can just think about the basics in life and you can really focus and master them, we can shine and we can have a massive ripple effect in the community, in our families, and in the world. And if you think about the ripple effect, it's about your energy. And if you're burnt out, if you're exhausted, if you're not caring for yourself, you can't have the ripple effect. It won't last. It's too short.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. I think the best advice, you know, that I've gotten out of today is, you know, and I say this all the time, is get yourself out of survival as much as you can, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. You know, get yourself out of survival so you can really start, you make different decisions, your body becomes healthier, you can become more in the world and you can be your best self. And only then can we really give ourselves permission to be happy, and it becomes a habit to enjoy ourselves, and we have to get out of survival.
And we've got to train the brain for that, so it doesn't happen naturally. So when you have the affirmations, when you have the words up on the wall, when you have the blueprint for yourself and the routines and the rituals for yourself, you elevate your energy, right? And it lasts. And you don't go into that survival. No one wants to feel like they're on the treadmill of life. I certainly don't. No. Same old, same old. I can't stand that. It makes me tired. So for me, it's about, let's mix it up too, you know, and so I like to mix it up with the seasons. So they're 12-week plans. Yeah. So we're coming to the end of summer. So I look at my autumn plan, which is 12 weeks. And what do I like to do in autumn and what's important for autumn? And then winter is when I work my hardest. I work so hard in winter because there's no distraction and there's no barbecues and there's no going to the beach. So let's work really hard. And spring I back off, and summer I really, really back off and fill my tank.
Yeah, good. I love that. This is such an inspiring conversation, Shannah. I think you're wonderful, and I think your book is has a lot of really important stuff in there, and I'm really enjoying reading it. And I hope everybody, so it's in Kmart now, The Life Plan, and you can buy it everywhere, I imagine. It's been out for 5 years, hasn't it?
I know, and it's just going berserk. And this is the Kmart version, so it looks a little bit different on the cover. But I actually did it because I wanted a Donna Hay style cookbook. I wanted to make life skills and wellness skills attractive. And I thought, no one wants to read a whole book on vision or values. It's too boring. So how can we make it simple, effective, and look nice? And so that's why the whole thing is designed and photographed, so it's more of a coffee table book. And
it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, to close today, you've just given so much really amazing information. Do you have just one tip that helps you to feel more, resilient? What's one tip that you can leave us all with today?
I think go and make friends with yourself. Go and really connect back with your best friend, which is yourself, and really create some routines, some rituals that care for yourself so you can be resilient and you can adapt to adversity and then learn to grow with it. If we have no connection with ourselves, we're going to be really angry and lost when the curveballs come. Yeah,
and frustrated, and exactly. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shannah. Thank you so much for coming on today. I hope everybody at Bend Like Bamboo, thank you all for joining and this wonderful live. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time with Colleen Calendar, which will be super fun.
Yay! And, she's fantastic. Yeah,
she is fantastic. And thank you so much. And everyone have a beautiful and happy Saturday. And you too, Shannah.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye for now.